everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Bree Buonomo. Hi if you're new here, or hey if you've been here before. And today I'm going to be here doing my July wrap up. So this is the video where I talk about the books that I read, the things I wrote, and some personal life tidbits. And today, while filming this, I am on a time crunch, so we are going to jump right in and try to get through this as succinctly as possible. So first we're going to talk about the books that I read. And I finished 3 books in the month of July. All the books I don't actually have physical copies of. The first 2 that I'm going to talk about I lent to my mother, and the third one I got as an ARC electronically, so I don't have that either. The first one was The Last Laugh by Mindy McGinnis. The Last Laugh was the continuation, the finishing duology for The Initial Insult. So this whole series is kind of like a murder mystery with some Poe-esque strangeness going on, and it leans into like the thriller genre and like the gothic genre, and it's very interesting because this is the sequel. I'm obviously not going to give a lot away, but basically the first book follows 2 friends and an animal point of view, which is, there's animal points of views in both books, and it's very interesting. But the first book follows 2 friends, Tress and Felicity. Tress's parents died many years ago, and the last one to see them alive was Felicity. And Tress is kind of at her breaking point where she's fed up with everything and her life kind of sucks because of this. So she is certain that Felicity knows something and will go through any means to get that knowledge, even if it means torturing her. And that's kind of where some of the Poe vibes come in a little bit, like the cast of Amontillado. So, you know, it's an interesting story. And then book 2 kind of follows up with that and where we leave off. And book 1 had a pretty big cliffhanger. Mindy McGinnis is one of my favorite authors. I really loved the duology. If you're not into kind of like horror thriller vibes, especially with some body horror, maybe you should pass, but if you like all of what I just said, then I highly recommend you go read it. Making a very abrupt departure from the horror thriller, I read Beach Read by Emily Henry, and this follows 2 individuals who move next door to each other. One is our main character, January, and she is kind of down on her luck after her father dies, and she finds out that he had been having affairs on her mother for most of her life, and she always thought like their romance was like the best thing and like made her believe in true love. So now that she kind of found all of this out after her father's death, she's struggling, and she's also struggling to make her book deadline with her publisher. So she moves in next door to Augustus, who is kind of like her rival, even though he doesn't really know it. And they try to make a bet that one could write the other's genre. So January tries to write a literary fiction, and Augustus tries to write a romance. And it's a fun little cute story. And honestly, I really, really loved it. I would give it probably 5 stars. It was a good time. I love the storyline. I love the little nitpicks. Emily Henry as a writer, I feel like because of like the quirks she gave characters and the way that she wrote, I feel like we would be really good friends. And as I'm currently writing a rom-com and I have some similarities like with the quirks that you give people, I just feel like it would be a fun time to meet Emily and get to know her and like co-write a book even. Like she just seems like such a fun person. So I loved it. I've followed Emily Henry since her debut, and I'm just really happy to see her in such a good groove with this. And I'm definitely going to be picking up her next book, I think, which is Book Lovers. So I'm excited for that. And then lastly, I could make a whole separate video on this book, but I won't. What I will say is I'm going to direct you down below to my Goodreads to get more of an in-depth, because I have a lot of opinions about this. And that would be Dirty Lying Faeries by Sabrina Blackberry. This was an advanced reader's copy that I received through NetGalley, and I picked it up because I thought it might be kind of like a fun, whimsical romance, like paranormal romance. And I guess it was trying to be that, but it had pretty much everything I hated in a book. Like, I definitely thought it was gonna be kind of tropey and silly when I started reading it, but it was kind of fun. And then I realized that the characters were very shallow and the whole plot was very flimsy, and the main character like never worked for anything. Like, there would be like hints that she was like researching or trying to uncover this mystery, and then it was just handed to her by some other character. So everything was just conveniently given, and it just made the book very boring. But I just really didn't have a good time. I'm surprised that I finished it. I probably should have DNF'd it because it was putting me in a major book slump. But I persevered because I got the advanced copy and I wanted to make an honest review, and that is where I'll end it. I don't recommend this one. It's just not, it wasn't a good time. If you're looking for good depth and good storytelling, I don't really feel like it's that. But there's probably an audience for it. It's getting published, so there must be some people who are enjoying it. So take that as you will. If you want more of my specific thoughts and kind of spoilery thoughts, I would go check out my Goodreads. And those are the 3 books that I read in the month. I am currently still reading Empire the Vampire, but I have a deadline now because I'm Tuesday following this video going out. I have a book club meeting to discuss it. So I need to finish that book, and I am in the middle of it. It's going better now that I'm physically reading it, but finding the time and the energy sometimes to read is what is my biggest downfall with that, because it's a big boy. So I think I'm going to do it. It's just not at the pace that I normally would set for myself. So in the writing news, moving right along, I really don't have many writing updates to talk about. Obviously, Camp July, I did set some goals for writing a book with my friend Kelly, and unfortunately for me, but not unfortunately for Kelly, our plans changed because Kelly is going to be debuting her own book next year, and she got back some edits for that book. And because the edits were probably going to take her some time, she asked if it would be okay if she could focus on that and then come back to our book when she's done. And of course, I don't want her debut to suffer. So I was like, yeah, of course. And it worked out better for me because I just think I finally admitted to myself that doing grad school and everything is taking more of a toll on me. And as I mentioned in my mid-year goal check, it's just a lot more energy than I expected. So because of that, it was fine. I really didn't have the time or energy to write. So I did write 1 full chapter in our book, and I started another chapter, and then I kind of paused on the Fae co-written book. I did a little bit more editing with Project Mermaid. I didn't get as far as I thought I would in the month as well, because I kind of thought, well, if me and Kelly aren't writing our book, I'll focus solely on Mermaid. But again, it just really didn't happen. And at this point, I'm fine with that. I did make some updates with my querying. I ended up, I think, adding 2 or 3 more agents to my list in July because they opened. I saw on Twitter that they were opening for queries, and I was like, I gotta jump on that. So I added a couple more, but lo and behold, I think I got 3 rejections as well during the month. So, you know, it's still trucking along and I'm not giving up. I might have more flaws in this book than I think, and that's okay. So I'm still working on other projects, and something is gonna get published one day. It just depends what and when. So that's how I'm going to face this. But otherwise, I don't really have many updates. Coming in August, I think I'm already starting to pile up some more updates for you guys, and maybe we'll see where we get with that. But for now, in July, that's where we're at. I barely wrote, and I'm okay. Everything's fine. And then as far as personal life, I obviously went camping, and I say obviously because I made a whole camping vlog, and that was really fun. So if you're interested in seeing my little adventure, I would recommend you go check out that vlog. Other than camping, I was supposed to go to the beach, and that got a lot of very, very complicated, really. That's all I'm gonna say. It was some family drama that wasn't like towards me or anything like that, but there was a lot going on with my family that I was supposed to go with, and I just decided that I wasn't going to do it. It was too much for me in my own mental state, and I backed out. So I was very upset and sad that I didn't get to go to the beach, but at the end of the day, I went to a concert and I really had a lot of fun. So I went to go see Halestorm, the Pretty Reckless, and then their opening bands were The Warning and Lilith Czar, and I had so much fun. I haven't been to a concert in a really long time. I went with a group of friends. It was just, I love concerts so much. Now, granted, I would have loved to be in the pit. Like, I'm definitely at rock concerts. I want to be all up in the action, but my friends were not that way. So we had seats and we were pretty far back because we just bought cheap seats. But I still had a great time. And it's funny because Lilith Czar, I didn't realize was Juliet Sims, who used to be the lead singer for a band I listened to as a teenager called Automatic Love Letter. So it kind of like came full circle, and I love Lilith Czar. Like, I'm obsessed right now with the music and everything. I like probably one of the better shows I've been to overall, because I feel like all the artists were amazing, but Lilith Czar I just feel like has a special place in my heart because it kind of brought back some pieces of my childhood that I forgot about, and then like getting to see her in her evolution was cool. Halestorm, it's the second time I saw them, and God, Lizzie Hale is a goddess. Her voice is amazing, and the band as a whole, like, top 5 best performances I've ever seen, possibly number 2. The only band that I could say that by far I don't think anyone will ever beat would be Linkin Park. They were probably the best concert I've ever been to, but Halestorm might be number 2. And this was the second time I've seen them, so watching their own growth from like the first concert I saw in like a shitty small venue where there was like 100 people to having, you know, a big stadium was pretty cool. And if you're interested, I'll put a few clips in from the concert, but just be warned that foul language is used. My life. I mean, we watched The Shining and Doctor Sleep, and it was the first time that I watched The Shining, so it's very weird, especially stylized. Like, I could see how Doctor Sleep was going for the same style as The Shining, and while I was watching The Shining, I kind of was like, I've never read the book, and I know Stephen King is like hit or miss with some things, especially endings, but I felt like there was so much more that I wanted from the movie, even though it was like 2.5 hours long already. I just felt like it was unfinished and we didn't really get answers. So Dr. Sleep did, I think, a good job of keeping some ambiguity, but also answering questions that I had from the first movie. And they were both very long, but we watched them. It was kind of fun. And overall, I think if you're like a horror buff, like, you probably should watch both of them. They're very interesting. It's like fantasy horror and it's pretty cool. But that's really it. Like, I mean, I'm still doing the grad school thing. That doesn't change. I'm almost done with the summer semester, and that means I'm heading into the final semester. And a lot of things are going to be happening. I'm taking my exam in October. I am going to be trying to finish up all my hours. There's just so much going on that I have to pack in the next couple of months. So it'll be hell, and we might see a decline in my videos again because it is hard to keep up with things sometimes, but that's real life, and I'm just keeping it real. So let me know down below how your July went, what you guys are up to, and if you did Camp Nano, how did you do? I saw a couple people posting videos about how they won or they're celebrating their victory for Camp Nano, and I'm very happy for everybody. I think, you know, next year especially, I'll be back in the groove with a lot of things where I have my regular schedule back and my life is back. But I hope that you guys did well. And even if you didn't win like me, you made some progress. Even if it was only 1 paragraph written, that's better. So yeah, let me know down below. And until next time, I'll see you then. Bye.